Hi, how is everyone doing today? I'm doing great because I'm here with my August wrap up. I actually read quite a bit this month, a bit more than honestly what I was expecting to. Like I thought I didn't read that much in August, but like compiling all the stats, I think I did a good job this month. So there we go. So let's go over those stats. Starting off with the fact that I read 10 books this month, which amounts to 3,672 pages width, which is an average of 267.2 pages per book and an average of 118.45 pages per day. I didn't finish any series, didn't DNF. Then for format, I have 5 books I physically own, 1 ebook, 1 galley from that galley, and 3 library books. And for the star rating, I have 1 1-star, 3 2 stars, 1 3-star, 3 4 stars, and 2 5 stars, which amounts to an average rating of a 3.2. So that's lower than I would want it to be, but oh well. And then for age range, we have 1 middle grade, 5 young adult books, and 4 adult books. And genre, only 2 genres. I typically read more like across the spectrum than this, so that was a bit shocking though. So we have 2 fantasies and 8 contemporary books. So yeah, let's just dive into all of these books. Starting off with Marked by Cast and Kristin Cast, which I gave 5 stars to. This is the first book in the House of Night series, which was a very popular like vampire series like way back in the day, and I've been meaning to check it out ever like since I first heard about it years ago, but I never really got around to it. But I do own the entire series. I picked them up very cheaply secondhand, and then this month I finally took a crack at it and I didn't like it. Now to be fair, this book was published in 2007, so when it comes to like its outdatedness, I was expecting that. There's a lot of language, especially when it comes to queer people and people of color, that is very outdated. And that outdatedness I was expecting. Also the rampant misogyny in this book, I was expecting very much a hallmark of this time, but what I wasn't expecting was just how boring this book would be. Like almost nothing happened in this, and like the conflicts within it are so minor that I honestly don't get how this is like a 12-book series, because this just sets nothing up. It really leaves everything to be desired. I feel like the characters are extremely flat. There was a romance in here that I wouldn't even say it's poorly developed, it's just not developed at all, it just happens. And yeah, I wasn't a big fan of it. The only reason why I didn't like fully hate it is that I do think the vampiric lore that is set up in here and kind of like the world building of this book is extremely interesting. We don't get a lot of it in this first book, but I do think it is extremely interesting what we do get, and very unlike things I've read before. So I'm very curious to kind of like see more of that as the series continue. Then next I read The Glass Girl by Kathleen Glasgow, which I gave out of 5 stars to. I've previously read You'd Be Home Now, I believe, by Kathleen Glasgow, and I love that. But it was an extremely sad book, and I've been meaning to read something by Kathleen Glasgow ever since, but also been very scared for Kathleen Glasgow to rip my heart out yet again. But I saw this book at the library, decided to give it a try, and I was totally right. This ripped my heart out yet again. But it is an absolutely beautiful book. It deals with a girl who has alcoholism, and I feel like the way it is dealt with is just really well done. I feel like the entire book, even when it comes to other issues, you're so in our main character's head and you totally understand her standpoints whenever it comes to any situation. Like even if technically in some situations she would do something that you don't agree with, you can totally understand where she's coming from, because her just like mental state is just so well explained and so in depth, which also makes this book so touching, because you can truly feel everything that our main character is going through, and it's some rough shit. So I absolutely saw throughout most of this, but honestly I think it's such a great book. It truly emphasizes that addiction is something that can happen to anyone and you're never like above it, and it also shows that addiction is a struggle you're gonna have to deal with your entire life. It's not something there's not something where a cure exists. It's just something you're gonna have to deal with your whole life. Then next I read Well Actually by Mazey Eddings, which I gave out of 5 stars to, and I got it from that galley. It was just a really fun romance book. I really enjoyed this book. I thought it was just a whole lot of fun. I adored the main character. I think I might have a small crush on her as well, but I also quite like the romance, the banter, and how it developed. It is a second chance romance, which is typically a trope I love, but I do think is very hard to pull off, so therefore a lot of second chances are like hit or miss for me, and this one is definitely hit. I feel like they do a great job at kind of like going over everything that went wrong between them the first time, and like healing from that and discussing that through before even thinking about making new romantic moves. So I really appreciated that. And there was also kind of like a side plot in this with our main character and like her workplace being like very toxic, and her gotta get the courage to stand up against that threat book, and I thought that element of this book was also very well done. Then next I read King of Envy by Ana Huang, which I gave 1 of 5 stars to. I want to talk about this again. This is the 5th book in the Case of Sin series, which I have previously really enjoyed. So I was very excited for this book. It follows Brock and Ayana. In case you know them from the rest of the series, I wouldn't give you full synopses because I never do on my wrap-ups. But I just really wasn't a fan of this. I didn't connect with romance at all. I didn't see it. And besides like physical attraction, there was nothing else there between them. I thought Buck was just a creep. I've got to be completely honest, he was a creep. His obsession wasn't cute. You know, I wasn't a fan of him. He's also very aggressive and a brute, and I don't get it. I really don't. And then on top of that, I also just think it was very inconsistently written as well. There's a lot of things that we are being told about him, but then like his actions are complete opposite. So that also bothered me. And then Ayana is just a blank slate of a character, and there's nothing to her. She's a model, she knits, that's it. There's quite literally nothing else to her. So in that sense, this was just so disappointing on those aspects. But then on top of that, there's also a B-plot in this book that is kind of like gang related, and I thought it was such a bore. I thought it was so boring and also so predictable, and I was not a fan of how that was executed either. And this book is also just way too long in general. I feel like it meandered a lot of the conflict kind of feels very repetitive and samey. So yeah, I really did not like a single thing about this book, which is a shame because like I said, I really enjoyed the other books in the series, but this just really desperately was not for me. Then next I read Milo, Blijft, Dromen by Hetty, which I gave 1 of 5 stars to. Milo is a Flemish TV show, and I have talked before about like these companion books. This one came out earlier this year, and I just kind of been putting off reading it. I don't know why, but I finally got around to it with the 3rd season beginning now, and I don't know, it was fine. Even I books are not my favorite, but I do have to say that that's my favorite from hers. Mainly the thing I don't like about them is that they read very young. Like, to be fair, they are also for a very young audience, which I never understood because the show isn't for a very young audience, but oh well. So I kind of tried to ignore it and still enjoy it, and I did really enjoy this one. I definitely liked it more than, like I said, the other ones from this author. But I do have to say this, I didn't love this because it has like 2 plots in it, and one at the beginning and one at the end, and it just kind of felt forced together rather than like having one flowing story, if that makes sense. So that's kind of my only complaint for this. And then next we have a concept by Saskia, which I gave 1 of 5 stars to. This is another Milo book, and I love the Saskia ones. I'm so sad there's only 2 of them because these are so much fun. They're also a bit older. They feel more amongst the age range of the show, and honestly I can hear the actors' voices when I read this book, which is to me always a great sign when it comes to like novelizations of shows. Although these are like not the actual storylines from the show, they are like made up storylines, but when I can hear the actors' voices, I'm always like, yeah, this is a good one. And this definitely is. It's also really funny, which I also really enjoy. This one follows Liam's POV, which is something that we haven't gotten to see very often, so I also enjoyed that change. And then overall, there's like a very simple plot because it's just the characters going to a concert. That's the plot that there is to it. But it is a very enjoyable, fun read, especially if you are a Milo and Liam shipper. This is the tea. I was squealing, giggling. I had such a blast reading this book. Then next I read Unwritten by Lauren Asher, which I gave 5 stars to. This one started a long way to me. This is the 2nd book in the like French Billionaire trilogy, I believe. And these again are interconnected standalones. And I was excited for this couple with the way they were teased in the 1st book. I'm really not a fan of them. It started off all right. I kind of liked their banter. They had a difficult relationship, but I was kind of excited to see that play out. But then I realized that they were just really toxic. And I kind of got bored with the 2 of them. Again, there was nothing here beside a physical attraction, in my opinion. I feel like the guy treated the girl as a therapist, and then the girl just had a crush on this guy in high school, and now years later still finds him physically attractive, but like doesn't like who he is very much, so she just decides to bully him into her ideal man instead of actually finding her ideal man. I don't know, I got on board with that. Also, the way the conflict resolve, so toxic. The amount of times these people just go on to ignore each other over like such minor issues, painful. And I'm supposed to root for them to get together? No. Especially now when there's a kid involved. Like, I love the kid. He's my favorite part of this entire book. But when your dad and your stepmom are this dysfunctional, we don't want it for you. you deserve a better life. But this is not a 1-star like Kind of Envy was, just because of kind of like all the extra bits that weren't necessarily the main characters in a romance. I didn't really enjoy it. Like I said, I love the kid. He's a big part of this book, and I really enjoyed his elements in it, his storyline in it. I also love the cast of side characters. When it comes to Raphael's family, was the male lead, who are characters we already know from the first book, so of course I still love them. But then also when it comes to the female leads, her family and friends, that group of people I also really enjoyed. And then there is a storyline in this book with the female main character where she and her ex-best friend used to write songs together, and then the ex-best friend got famous off of those songs and didn't credit our main character as a songwriter, and there was like a whole storyline surrounding that, and I did think that was very interesting and really well done. And I also loved the setup for the next couple in the series. So those are all things I really enjoyed, so therefore it's not like a 1-star like Kind of Envy where I didn't like anything. Then next we have The Way I Used to Be by Emma Smith, which I give 2 to 5 stars to. This is another like more hard-hitting contemporary. It's also YA. This one didn't work for me as well. I do have to say that its main focus is rape and deals very much with like the aftermath of a main character getting raped when she's 13 by her brother's best friend. And when it actually deals with the rapes, like at the beginning and like towards the very end, it is so strong. I feel like those parts are so well written. The ending made me cry. I genuinely thought all of that was really executed. All the discussions surrounding that were really well done, and definitely think those conversations are important to be had for a YA audience. But like everything in the middle where she's just kind of, because this book takes place over 4 years time, but where she's just living and being self-destructive and just like having this secret fester within her because she doesn't feel like she can talk to it about anyone, and like, you know, just the way she deals with things, I feel like that necessarily wasn't always the most well dealt with. I feel like there's a lot of things that get brought up but then like not talked about and like swept under the rug like it's nothing. And I get part of it as our main character shutting off her feelings, but as a reader I want a bit more. I want more depth from that. I want to have conversations about this again, especially because this is for a YA audience. I feel like certain things included in this book, especially leaving it undiscussed as it was in this book, is slightly harmful for the audience that is targeted at. Then next I read Swordcatcher by Cassandra Clare, which I give 2 to 5 stars to, and this is probably my biggest disappointment of the month. Like I don't know, I really wanted to like this book. I really love the Shadowhunters Chronicles, and even though this has been out for like 2 years I believe, and I haven't gotten around to reading it, I have only heard great reviews for this book, so I've been so excited to read this. Only the size has always intimidated me, and but I finally got around to it and I really didn't like it, and I feel just so bad about it. I just think in the beginning of this book we get info dumped so much that by the end, when like information that was info dumped at the start becomes relevant, I don't remember it, because like there was so much thrown at me that I possibly couldn't retain all of it, so that made me like not as invested in like conflicts and stuff that arose towards the end of the book. But I do have to say that the plot gets the most exciting by the end of the book. But again, I couldn't understand why these things were happening, because all that explanation was left somewhere in a dump at the start, and I feel like there could have been a better way to like integrate all of that. On top of that, like I said, besides the ending, I feel like not a whole lot happens in this book. This is definitely way too long. There could have been large chunks cut out, because there's just so much time we're doing nothing, like generally nothing. Like the plot isn't progressing, the characters aren't developing, like nothing is happening. I overall also just feel like the characters fall a bit flat, especially again with how large this book is and how little we do in it. I definitely wanted more character development. I don't know that much about them. I don't feel strongly towards them. Again, also, I wouldn't necessarily say this is romance heavy, because it definitely is not, but there are like some romantic threads in this book that I definitely also feel like those were very underdeveloped and I wanted more from them. So yeah, overall I think there is a lot of potential within this book. I feel like there's a lot of interesting things raised, and part of me is intrigued to keep reading the series just to see how those things will play out, but also I wasn't invested enough in this book to do that. So it's a 2-star, and I really hate to say that. And now we have arrived at our last book for this month, which is Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter, which I gave 5 stars to. This one started out a bit rough for me, kind of the opposite to a lot of the other books that I read this month. It started off great for me, but then I ended up despising. This one started off a bit rough. I was enjoying my time reading it, but I just like didn't fully connect to it. There was something about it that just was keeping me at a bit of a distance. Then at a certain point I got invested, and I got invested hard. Like by the end of this book I was sobbing, I was I had anxiety of like the angsty bits. That's how invested I was in this book. And honestly, nothing within this book warrants that. I was just that invested in things. It's not that emotionally heavy at all. This is just a really fun YA contemporary romance, and I have seen this very hyped, which is why I decided to pick it up on TikTok, but mainly on TikTok. And I definitely get it, because this is just such a fun read, and it is really good at pulling those emotions from you and making you feel for these characters in their moments. I thought the romance was very cute. I feel like the main characters had just great banter together, and the way it developed just felt very natural. And I don't know, I was crying the moment they got together. It was just so satisfying how it was done. And then again, the conflict towards the end just got the angst. I got my heart racing. Like, the angst was so strong, it was so well done, and it was just a really fun read. We do also deal a little bit with the main character's grief surrounding her mother, but I thought all of that was really well executed as well, and felt very like tonally appropriate without also bringing the overall lightheartedness of the book down. So I really like the balance there as well. And honestly, I'm actually really excited to read the sequel. I at first didn't really understand the point of a sequel, considering this is pretty much a standalone story, but I want more of these characters, so I will be reading the sequel. So there you go. That was August for me in books. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments if you have these books, if you've read them, as well as some of the books you read this month, and hopefully I'll see you next time. Good.
Here I am again, the same old situation. Why does the God thing have to be so complicated?